to order, and I would like to recognize and appreciate that we are holding this meeting within the traditional territories of the Shuswap and Hatchespasit First Nations. My name is Diane Bodner, and I'm the Director for the Cherry Creek electoral area. I'd like to introduce you to the ACRD planning staff, Mike Erg, General Manager of Development Services, Kathy MacArthur, Planning Assistant, and Cheryl Knapp, Administrative Assistant. The public meeting is being held electronically using Zoom. It is being recorded and is live streaming on our website. Would staff please provide direction and instruction on how to participate in this meeting?
Yes, regarding the Zoom procedures, first of all, thank you for participating in this electronic public meeting. If you are watching the live stream on the website and wish to join the meeting, the details on how to connect can be found in the Zoom meeting invite document linked to the public hearing page. We want to start off by highlighting some of the tools in Zoom that will help you participate and talk about our process, which can keep the hearing running smoothly. If participating online, you have the option to turn on or off your video and mute or unmute your audio so other participants can see you and hear you. These controls are in the bottom left of your screen on a computer and the top right on a tablet or smartphone. Please keep your audio muted at all times unless you are going to speak. This will reduce the background noise, which can make it hard for everyone to hear the presentations. There will be an opportunity to speak after staff introduce the application and the applicants provide comments on their proposal. When the chair calls any member of the public to comment on the bylaw, we ask that you either put your hand up or call out that you would like to speak. Once you've been recognized by the chair or by staff, we ask that you state your name and address followed by your questions or comments. There is a chat feature access from the controls on your screen if you would like to ask a question at any time. All questions will be addressed by staff during the public meeting, so feel free to ask any question you would like addressed as we move along. These questions will be brought forward when the chair asks for public comments. There will also be a final opportunity prior to the end of the public meeting to ask any final questions or make any comments on the rezoning bylaw. Finally, I want to note again that this public meeting is being live streamed on the ACRD website, and a recording of the meeting will be publicly available. Thank you.
Okay, the subject of this meeting is temporary use permit TUP20005 is applicable to 3133 Alberni Highway. If you have any questions or comments about any other unrelated topic, I ask that you contact the regional district staff after the meeting has been terminated. Would staff now read out the notice of public meeting?
A public meeting for temporary use permit application TUP20005, 3133 Alberni Highway, Heather Powell, 1047819 BC Limited. The date of the meeting is February 24th, 2022 at 7 p.m. And where it's being held is electronic and call-in public attendance only. Please see information below. What it is about: a public meeting for residents and property owners within electoral area F, Cherry Creek, will be held to allow for public input on a temporary use permit renewal application for a portion of Lot 21, District Lot 18, Alberni District, Plan 906, except part in Plan 2051 RW, and a portion of Lot 22, District Lot 18, Alberni District, Plan 906, to allow for a campground with a maximum of 22 RV sites on the non-ALR portion of the property adjacent to the Alberni Highway. How I can learn more: the public meeting will be held by the Director for Electoral Area F, the alternate director, or the chairperson of the regional district. The board resolution making this delegation and relevant background documents is available for review online at www.acrd.bc.ca/events/24-2-2022/. Planning staff are available to answer questions in person, through email, and or by phone during normal office hours, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday from February 8th, 2022 to February 24th, 2022, excluding statutory holidays. How can I provide input? During the COVID-19 pandemic, providing an opportunity for public input and safeguarding public health are top priorities for the ACRD. Consider written submissions as an effective means to provide your input. Anyone who feels their interest in property will be affected by the proposed temporary use permit application will be afforded a reasonable opportunity to be heard. Options include participating in the public meeting by electronic means using Zoom video conferencing or teleconferencing, and or submitting correspondence to the ACRD. If you wish to participate in the public meeting electronically or by phone, full instructions to do so are available at our website at www.acrd.bc.ca/events/24-2-2-2022/ or can be provided by contacting planning staff by email at planning@acrd.bc.ca or by phone at 250-720-2700. The public meeting will be recorded and live streamed on our website. Written correspondence can be submitted to the ACRD by one of the following methods: hard copy to the ACRD office in person in the drop slot, or by mail to the planning department at the address below. Email sent to planning@acrd.bc.ca before 4 p.m. February 24th, 2022. Email correspondence will only be considered received if receipt confirmation is provided by ACRD staff. Fax sent to 250-723-1327 before 4 p.m. February 24th, 2022. Fax correspondence will only be considered received if receipt confirmation is provided by ACRD staff. All correspondence must be received by the ACRD no earlier than 8 a.m. on Friday, February 8th, 2022, and no later than 4 p.m. on February 24th, 2022. Correspondence submitted and or received outside of these correspondence submitted and or received outside of these parameters will not be included in the public meeting. Who do I have to contact if I have questions? It's Planning Department at Regional District of Alberni-Clyquot, 3008 Fifth Avenue, Port Alberni, BC, B9Y2E3, telephone 250-720-2700, fax 250-723-1327, or email planning@acrd.bc.ca, and the date of the notice is February 8th, 2022. Thank you. That's the notice.
Thank you, Mike. The purpose of a public meeting is to receive input, written and verbal, from any person who believes that their interest in property is affected by the issuance of the temporary use permit. The regional board will receive full minutes of this meeting before voting on the temporary use permit. Staff is taking minutes that summarize the issues raised. Please speak clearly to ensure accuracy. Would staff please introduce the proposal?
Yes. So I'll read through some notes, and I would just note that this is a public meeting rather than a public hearing. The application before us is a temporary use permit, and a public meeting is not a requirement. In this instance, the board wanted to provide this additional opportunity for public input, so that's why we're holding the meeting today. So at the July 28th, 2021 board meeting, the board of directors of the ACRD passed a resolution to consider issuing this temporary use permit TUP20005, subject to the neighbor property owners being notified as per section 494 of the Local Government Act. The applicant agreeing to proposed conditions of the TUP cited in the information package available on the ACRD website. Positive referral responses from Island Health, Cherry Creek Fire Department, and Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure, limiting the number of campsites to 22 prior to the TUP being issued, holding a public meeting to allow for public input, and requiring that the owner provide a security or guarantee the performance of the terms of the permit as per section 496 of the Local Government Act. So the original application was for a temporary commercial use permit for a 22 site campground RV park, which was issued in 2017 and expired in May of 2020. Once the TUP expired, the number of RVs did increase, and at one point staff observed 30 RVs on site. The owner has subsequently provided email, and staff have confirmed that the number of RVs in the campsite is at 22 or below 22 now. The board resolve that with included in the 17 conditions that were proposed moving forward, that this would limit the number of campsites in the temporary use permit to 22 and a maximum 180-day individual occupancy per site. So this means if this temporary use permit is issued, that an individual RV or person or occupants can stay in the campsite for a maximum of 180 days. Now that campsite could be occupied all year long, but the intent is to maintain the campsite use rather than it becoming a permanent residence. We have received 5 referral comments prior to the public meeting. So Vancouver Island Health citing no objection to the temporary use permit, noting 2 records of sewerage filings were received, one on May of 2019, servicing 22 RV sites, and the second received July 2021, servicing an additional 10 RV sites. Ministry of Transportation, their comments were they can supply written confirmation of no further objection to this proposal if the access issues can be resolved. The applicant's business requires a controlled access highway commercial access permit for access onto Highway 4. Now the applicants do have that now. Cherry Creek Fire Department recommended approval subject to conditions, concerns with property density and improvements around the trailers, potential for rapid fire spread with close proximity and occupant safety, concerns with long-term occupancy and long-term structures being built around RVs. Public concerns brought forward by the Cherry Creek Water District residents concerned with proper waste management. The Cherry Creek Waterworks District cited no objections, provided a minimum distance of 5 meters is maintained between individual recreational vehicles occupying individual campsites, and any infrastructure upgrades would be at the expense of the applicant and then owned by the Cherry Creek Waterworks District. The ACRD building inspector notes interest unaffected. Copies of the agency referrals are available for review on the ACRD website and will be part of the public meeting report considered by the board on March 9th. 4 letters of public correspondence were received prior to the public meeting. 1 letter in support of the application noting the housing situation and high cost of renting. 3 letters noting opposition to the application, noting proximity and fire safety concerns with close proximity of existing trailers. Concerns with appropriate utility services to the campground. The campground use is not a temporary use, commenting most of the units have not moved from their location in a year. Issues with the removal of buffer of trees and bushes to place the RV pads, negative visual impacts, large increase in vehicle and foot traffic and extra noise, animal waste and garbage has increased, shopping carts left on the road, etc. Increase in cars parked alongside the roads and highways, and a decrease in home values were what was cited in the letters. I would note that one of the letters of objection was objecting to the number of RVs exceeding 22 and occupation exceeding 180 days in any calendar year. And again, those I mentioned before are 2 conditions of the permit. So that is all the comments I have for right now regarding the application. Director Butter.
Okay, would the applicant like to add anything?
Yes, sure. This is Shannon Webb. I work for a company called OTG Developments, and I'm representing the owner of the properties. My address is 468 Furcrest Way on Quadra Island. I had a big speech plan, but Mike did a really good job then of covering all the background. And I guess just in summary, I'm here to respond to any public concerns or questions. And the owner is happy and willing to meet all of the board's recommended conditions to keep it at 22 units and to ensure that the maximum stay is no more than 180 days. I understand that one of the concerns raised by a neighbor regarding the public notice was with some privacy concerns. The owner is more than happy to work with that owner to, increase some evergreen landscaping along that to provide a greater buffer during the winter times, especially when the the leaves have all fallen off the trees and so on. So we're going to work together and hopefully come to a solution to make sure that privacy is maintained as much as possible. Yeah, that's about it. Mike did a really good job. So if anybody's got any questions, I'll be online to respond to them.
Okay, we will now hear from members of the public. Please wait until you have been recognized by me and state your name and addresses before beginning. We will hear everyone wishing to speak for the first time before allowing a second comments. So Kathy, you have a full view. Maybe you could let me know who would like to respond.
So there isn't a lot of people here. So if anybody has any comments they'd like to add and to be part of the public record, you know, just feel free to shout out, and we'll just go one at a time if there is anyone.
Do I see somebody?
So Sandy, yeah, I can hear,
Yeah.
I can see Sandy. If you had some comments, you are muted, so we can't hear you. And if you're just having a discussion with your partner, that's fine too.
Hi, anybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Okay. I'm
Yes, we
Sarah
can.
Henshaw. I'm at 5238 Athol Road, which also backs onto Cherry Creek Golf Course. I've been there almost 12 years now, I guess. I guess since the new owners came in and the RV park has put the temporary use in, I guess some of my questions around this are, how are we really going to ensure that only 22 will stay and the 180 days? Because I know for a fact that a lot of those people have lived there very long term. And what about the revenues that were received from the 30 RVs, plus when it was only supposed to be 22? Can that not go back into the waterworks or something of that nature? I guess I have quite a few questions here. Because as a small community before with the previous owners, what used to happen is as a collective, we would get together and clean the ditches. And it was community oriented, and that hasn't happened in the last, I honestly can't remember when the ownership changed 4 years ago. But it's just my concerns that these bylaws or whatever, the approval of this is not going to be followed because it hasn't. And there wasn't, I don't know if there was any recourse for that. So I guess definitely the waste. Where does the waste go? What is that at the side that's being built? The other day there was a big fire, open burn, and to my understanding, you're not allowed to open burn till March 1st. So that would be a fire department issue. I didn't call it in. But I'm just wondering some of these you know, issues, like what is going to be temporary use? How is it going to be followed? Because I see it hasn't been. And also the privacy. People walk down our road now, and I've asked, because we live on a very small road on Athol, and I've specifically said, oh, where are you from? Where do you live? And they're like, oh, we're over at the trailer park. So the privacy has definitely been an issue as well. As opposed to people just playing golf on occasion and stuff. So I have a, sorry.
Sure. No, and I will answer some of the questions as they relate to the ACRD, and then I can certainly, you know, we can turn it over to the applicant, and Shannon and Heather can answer some of the other questions around the occupancy and enforcement of the terms of the temporary use permit. Over the last 4 years, we've certainly had at the ACRD a lot more experience with temporary use permits. And so this temporary, this new proposed temporary use permit, if it is issued by the board, has a number of new conditions in there relating, and a couple of them relate to the enforcement. So one of them would be the requirement to have a security, so a bond. that would be required to be held, and if needed, the ACRD can then use that bond to rectify or clean up a situation. And the other one is a condition that if the terms of the temporary use permit are not met, the board can revoke the permit. We also have a new ticketing bylaw that's in place as far as if there is zoning infractions. So if in this temporary use permit falls under, I guess if the permit's not adhered to, the permit's revoked, it would be contrary to the zoning bylaw. There would be some ability to issue tickets, and then the other part of enforcement is the regional district does have the ability to enforce through injunctions in court. And hopefully we wouldn't have to go there, and that's not what I'm not saying that we would have to, but I just want to say those are the options that the board has. As far as the burning, you are correct. The HRD does have a burning bylaw, a new burning bylaw that's in place now, and burning is not permitted until March 1st under conditions, under the right conditions. And ACRD bylaw staff did reach out to the owners and explain that. And from what I understand, that won't be happening again, but I can let them address that. So I think Director Bodner, it'd be appropriate to allow the applicants, either Shannon or Heather, to respond to any of the other questions.
Yes, would the applicants like to respond to any of those questions?
Sure. So Shannon here again. The owner is definitely aware of the concerns of both the board members and the public regarding these conditions, and is like I said, I'd like to reiterate that she is happy and willing to meet these recommended conditions, all of them, just to ensure that the area is kept attractive and an appropriate fit in that location. Heather, I believe, is just going to respond to the fire comments. I also did want to mention there was a couple of concerns raised in another letter about the fire concerns with respect to the separation of the RV units. It was felt that a couple of these units were being sited a little too close together, and we understand that the fire department is putting some conditions on ensuring that the RVs are maintained at a minimum distance. That's definitely something that we're going to make sure is always in place. The district also has recommended a condition of each RV site has a minimum of 120 square meters. We're definitely planned and mapped out the park to move forward to make sure that everyone has a minimum of this 120 square meters requirement to ensure the minimum separation is met at all times. I think I might have answered all the questions. I'll hand it over to Heather and see if she just wanted to comment on the recent burning issue.
Hi, good evening. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Hi, thank you so much for affording us this opportunity to speak to you all in regards to what our plans are with the RV park. Just in regards to the burning, I did not realize that there was a March 1st rule or regulation in regards to burning. We've had a couple of trees that or I guess not trees, but large shrubs along the border on the south end part of the golf course that, due to all the snow load, all of the branches had broken off and snapped, and we discovered that they were rotten through the middle. And we were just in the course, we finally had good weather. And so we thought, oh, you know what, we'll just take care of that and clean up the site, because we didn't want it to remain unsightly for our neighbors. So I do recognize that we had, like, it was about 1 meter by 1 meter, a bit of a burn, but I didn't think it would be too much, because I know our neighbors quite often burn all along that row as well. And we often see fires, and we've honestly had probably only a couple times where we've ever had any burning on site. And it was well away from all of the RVs. It was on the far south side. It was right where actually all the branches and stuff and all the bramble where it had actually accumulated. So just, we're well aware that, in trying to be safe with our neighbors. In response also to the siting of all the RV sites. Sorry? And just in response to the siting of the RV sites, and that I mean the size of the RV sites and the distance between all of the RV units as a fire safety concern. We were very, very specific when we laid out this RV site plan, and we gave a copy to the ACRD. So I'm sure it'll be in all of the notes and everything like that from way back when. But part of what we did was we made sure that the distances were nice and large enough between RVs so that there could be no challenges with fire or any safety. We have built RV sites in the past, and these RV sites are like larger than quite often. The RV sites are only 24 feet in width, and our RV sites are actually substantially, they're a bit larger than that. They're anywhere between 29 to 30 feet, and in some cases even a little bit more than that, 32 feet. So I realize when things are laid out in a row that things can assume they look possibly like they're closer, but that actually is part of the plan. And we gave a submission to the ACRD that showed that plan and showed the layout and the distancing between all of the RVs. And I wanted to just address one little thing in regards to the fire, when the fire inspection happened here at the park. In the notes that he wrote, that he was happy to see that there were no additions to any of the RV sites. And that there was no, that he wasn't concerned because there was no debris at any of the RV sites, that they were free of, there was no permanent structures, there was nothing like that at all. And I just wanted everybody to know that, he was very, that he wrote that right in his notes to us, that he was happy to see that. But the other side of it is we always request insurance on everybody on a very regular basis. So we require that all RVs must be insured. That's part of our monthly process, is to ensure that everybody has insurance on their RVs. So we're very, we're super concerned about it. We gave notices to everybody to update all their fire extinguishers. And we also make sure that we don't allow any RVs that are really old here on site, that the age of units has to be 8 years or newer, possibly 12 years, depending on the condition of the RV. We make sure if it's an older RV that they've got recent inspection certified on their propane. So we're very conscientious of making sure that the propane, if it's an older unit, it's been certified recently, that everybody has insurance on their RVs. We've been doing this since 2005, actually, at another location, and we're very concerned, and we make sure that, for public safety, that we have all of those things in place. So if anybody has any questions.
Could I just ask 2 more questions?
Sure, you can. And
it has notice, number 1, has notice been given for all units who have been there over 180 days? And number 2, where does all this, are all the units hooked up to septic or some? And if so, where does all that septic waste go to because of all the additional waters that are going down onto the golf course, with all the big ditches there and whatnot? That's one of my concerns.
would the applicant like to respond, or?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's no different than you're on Athol Road, right? So you would have you would have a septic system also, but we have 2 brand new engineered septic systems, by our ROWP, that have been approved and put into the Vancouver Island, the VHA Health Authority, and they inspect on a regular basis. So we haven't had any issues. They're approved septic systems, and they're the latest technology as far as septic goes. So I don't know what to say, in response to any more than that. We have 2 beautiful approved systems, and
regarding notice for everyone who's been there over 180 days?
as far as notice, when we originally did this permit, the permit did not have any requirements for 180 days. And I believe that the reason why they requested the 180-day permit is because in a lot of older RV parks that have people stay for an extended period of time, people start building stuff on their RV sites, and they start fencing things in, and they do all kinds of things like that. And I believe that that's with most municipalities, that's probably where the concern of 180 days comes in, is that if people are always transient, then those things don't get built. And the other side of it is that people don't apply for building permits. They just go and build whatever they want out of pallet structures and things. So I believe, like, in defense of the 180-day rule, like, I know a lot of municipalities have that rule, but there's a lot of municipalities that don't as well. And the reason is because they trust that the property owners, when they say that they're not putting up any structures and they're not doing anything like that, that they don't do that. And it was always our plan to hopefully be that part of the park be part of a solution to the residential problems and municipalities that need to support some form of economical housing. And it was part of our plan to hopefully support economical housing in, a clean and sustainable way and a safe way in our community. And as such, we made sure that we, tried our very best and continue to try our very best to make this a beautiful and safe place to be. So as far as that goes, did we give everybody notice? No, we have not given anybody notice for 180 days because we were hoping to help support the housing crisis, at least on some standpoint. But we recognize that if that's a requirement, a new requirement now coming in with this new temporary permit, that we will of course abide by what the requirements are of the temporary permit, and we'll follow those rules. But obviously there's people that have been here for a while, and we're happy that we were able to support them through a really challenging time. And if we unfortunately now have to give those, community members notice that they're going to need to have a solution of where to go, because a lot of these people have jobs here in the local community. A lot of these people, support the local community as far as financially, and now we have to come up with some kind of a solution of where those people go. Thank you.
Okay. Does anybody else want to respond?
Yeah, this is Scott. I'm just wondering, like, I'm not very good at speaking in these kind of things, but so I wrote it all out for you there in my letter. I just wonder, are you guys going to take a close look at these letters and sort of decipher what we're asking after this meeting, or is this our one chance to do it? Because I mean, they can say what they want, but they haven't got a good track record as far as following rules and temporary use permits and stuff. And I mean, that's my concern is, are you going to okay this, and then next thing you know, there's another 35 trailers over there, but it's only for 22. So that's my concern, because it's sitting right on my doorstep. Okay, like that trailer's no more than 50 feet away from me, and I get to look at that stuff every day. Okay, it's right outside my windows. Every window in my house looks out that way, and I'm just really, I'm just tired of the eyesore, to be honest with you. I don't know what it's done to my property value. I know we've done very well lately, but anyways, I would just love to see a buffer of some sort up there. A fence isn't tall enough. You're not allowed to build them that high. I would love to see it like a 10-foot hedge all the way down there. Just hide that from me. And then if it's for 22 trailers, if you could just move them all down to the east as far as you can go, that would be fantastic, because there's headlights shining in my living room. It's cars idling in the morning, diesel trucks. It's garbage. It's dog crap up and down my street. On and on and on. I felt like I had some nice privacy here when only the east side was being run, and it was a pretty good buffer from both neighbors, actually. And then once it crept over this side, it just got to be too much. It's like it's just right in my face, and I just really detest it right now. So who polices this in the future? Who makes sure all this stuff gets done?
So, Director Bodner, I can answer some of
Yes.
Mr. Allen's questions. I think some valid concerns that you've raised, Scott. And like I mentioned earlier, that what we have proposed for a temporary use permit, if the board proceeds and authorizes it, there's a couple of conditions in the permit that weren't in the previous one. So the one being that if the terms of the temporary use permit aren't abided by, the permit can be revoked. The intent of the permit is for transient sort of recreational campground use. Certainly the ACRD zoning bylaw defines campground use, as a transient, RV holidaymaker use, which is why we have the 180 day condition in there, as well as a condition for a bond. So if it's issued, certainly bylaw enforcement staff will be monitoring and in contact with the property owner. As is stated, the expectation of the ACRD would be that all of the terms are abided by. So that that's how we could do it. And I'd mentioned before, if the permit's revoked and things carry on, we have other enforcement tools. That's not something we want to go to. But those would be the conditions. And so your question, who polices it? The ACRD, and we do have bylaw enforcement staff. And we have some additional bylaw enforcement resources that we didn't have in 2017 as well.
Hi, may I address the board? Sorry.
Sorry, I think Mr. Allen still had a.
Okay.
So is this 180-day maximum stay, was that a clause previously as well?
No, it wasn't.
The way I understand it, it was.
It wasn't before in the previous permit.
It was not in there?
It was not. It was not in there.
Oh, okay. I didn't understand that. I thought there was a clause in there about that.
No.
May I speak?
Yes, Heather.
I just wanted to mention that right now, we actually did leave a larger buffer than what the original buffer was required. But right now, I completely agree with our neighbor that, with all of the native species that we have along that whole side, right now, you can see right through there because there is not a leaf or a bushiness to be seen anywhere. And it was really important to us that we left a buffer of native species and all around where we could. Mostly where we built the RV park, it was just a big grass area, kind of in front, where quite often cars were parked all over that for golfing, actually. So as far as like that buffer, like we're totally happy to put like some evergreen species in there to try to like block us even more from our neighbor. But just like, please recognize that a month from now, that whole area is going to be like up and green and lush again. And I do recognize that there's one spot where, like, especially right on the corner there, that like we've wanted to carry along all the cedars and stuff. But there's like a fire hydrant there. Like there's a bunch of areas there that we want to like leave that area as a fire access in if we needed to, or anything like that. So, so I'm happy, neighbor, to address like your visual, but it's always going to be like that in the wintertime when we're dealing with native species. The next little piece that I just want to bring to everybody's attention is that if you are concerned about traffic, which I know that we don't have very much traffic at all, because the amount of RVs that come and go from here aren't very much. In December, I think we were down to 19 RVs because we had several people leave due to different work shortages and things like that. And so one of the challenges is that the minute that this is really transient, which is what we're, everybody else is kind of wanting, then the amount of traffic is going to increase substantially. And so one of the reasons why we were wanting to have more of a longer term type of stay here in the park was actually to reduce the amount of traffic in our area, be respectful of our neighbors. And so if it's lights and things like that you're concerned about, I'm, like I said, we're more than happy to plant even more like deciduous type of bushes and, and make it more natural. I mean, if fencing happens to be something in our future, we can certainly even look at, fencing. But, we'd be looking at probably some type of a metal fencing at that point, because, we wouldn't want to increase any, opportunities for any fire hazards or anything like that on the property. So,
can I respond to that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Actually, I believe there's a height limit on fencing. I don't know about in the ACRD, but in the city limits there is. That's just not going to be high enough. Okay, like I don't even want to see it. Okay. As far as the bushes that were removed, and I mean, what was there before was actually quite pretty. Okay, there was several maple leaf trees going down adjacent to the Old Nanaimo Highway Road. There was shrubberies and stuff, branches. All that stuff was removed when all the fill was put in. Okay, and so now, even with the springtime growth, it doesn't really hide anything. Okay, it's what we got there right now, and you put a few leaves on it, and that's it. Okay, it doesn't miraculously hide everything. Okay. I mean, I'm looking at what I had previous to that being developed, okay, and it was actually quite a nice view. It had Mount Arrowsmith up there, had a nice tree blooming over on the side and stuff like that, and the next thing you know, I got a trailer looking down at me, and it's just not acceptable. I'm just so tired of it, and I would just love for you guys to. I'm not opposed to you guys being there, okay, but 35 trailers in there, no way am I going to go for that. 22, when you guys had 22 down at the far end, it just wasn't even an issue. It was a nice little community down there. Okay, fine, they're out there golfing, they're doing their thing, right? A great little place to stay. And then once you guys filled that thing up, it just made it, it just ruined it, for me at least, okay? I'm sure you guys love the money it's bringing in and stuff like that. Hey, good for you, okay? You've put in the work for it. You deserve it. But I don't deserve this myself. And I didn't even have a chance to respond the first time when you guys originally got your permit. I knew nothing about it. Next thing I know, there's a trailer park next to me. Okay, it's kind of late to complain then. So that's why I'm taking the opportunity now. And so, yeah, I would just like to see a total buffer zone up there, as thick as you can make it.
Hi, I'll just respond. I believe that you bought the property after we were already here. And
I'm not
you know,
sure
by
what
that-
the chain of, I was here September in 2017 is when I moved in.
Yeah, I
And
think
so we're kind of
May or something.
sort of around the same time. I'm not sure when you guys started, but
Anyways, I am happy to put all kinds of buffers up there, so that you know, so that both of our privacies are absolutely protected for sure. No problem.
well, that would be great. I mean, I would just totally appreciate that. As far as the people that have been living there, even when you guys were full, like I couldn't really complain about much. Okay, the noise. There's one guy that's sort of sitting off the 9th green. He's the only guy I could really hear. There was the odd time people would be out saying goodbye to somebody in the car. They'd laugh and all this stuff. And okay, fine, you know. But it's just the sight line that I want to clear up. Okay, and like I said, 22 trailers I don't have a problem with. 35, I definitely have a problem with that. Okay, and of course the sight line, I'd like that taken care of. The bigger, the taller the shrub you could put in there. That's why I said a 10-foot tall cedar hedge in my letter, because that would hide it. Okay, and at least then I could sit there and not be looking at a bloody trailer. Okay, and a bunch of cars. So, anyways, that's my side of it.
So, Director Bodner, just one comment
Yes.
with respect to the buffer. The original temporary use permit did have some comments about the buffer, but we can, you know, if this again, one of the things that could be included in the temporary use permit is along the west property line, a replanting of evergreen cedars to a certain height to start. So we could, there is that option to include that requirement and make that a condition of the permit as well. So certainly,
that's what I was asking for. That'd be great if you can do it.
Yeah. So certainly, from what Ms. Powell said, you know, they're agreeable to doing some planting, so that can be included in there. So
Great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does anybody else want to speak to this? Okay, please be advised.
Oh, sorry, Diane, just before, if there's nobody else wanted to speak, I did just want to talk a little bit about the process before we go through the calling of 3 times, just for everybody's information. So this is sort of outside sort of the norm for how the temporary use permits are issued. So what will happen is the minutes from this meeting will go to the board, and the board will staff will prepare the public hearing minutes and a staff report summarizing this. The next step would be if the board passes a resolution to move forward with the temporary use permit application. We still need to go through there's a formal requirement to notify all of the neighbors again, just the way the act is. So if this is going to go forward, all the neighbors will get another notification with a copy of the permit. So you'd have, not with a copy of the permit, but highlighting what the permit is. We will have a copy of the permit available for people to view. So you'd be able to, for example, Scott, you could check out the, what the vegetation requirements were and things like that. But just I wanted to clarify that this is an additional step. So there is still this formal requirement in the act that we notify the neighbors again of when the board is going to consider issuing the permit. So just wanted to clarify that. And again, after if people have any questions or the applicants have any questions, they're certainly welcome to reach out to me after the meeting as well, or ask any questions now.
Okay. Does anybody else want to respond? Okay. Please be advised that members of the Board of Directors should not receive new information related to this application between the end of this meeting and making decision on the application. The next board meeting is on March the 9th. With that in mind, does anyone have any final comments?
If I may just ask, Sandy, I see you and your husband are there. I'm just wondering, is there anything that you can say in support of having longer than 180 days, like how important it is for you guys in the municipality? Is that a possibility?
Absolutely. I'm not sure if you can hear me or not.
Yeah.
I can hear you.
So we are currently residing at Hollies. If we had to leave after 180 days, I don't know where we'd go, to be honest with you. In respect to some of the other conversations that have been going on, we do be respectful to everybody that's within living here as well as our neighbors. There was a comment about headlights. Well, I'm sure you get that wherever you live as far as that goes. Like I said, if we had to move from here and go somewhere else after 180 days, I don't know where we'd live. We're a middle-aged couple, worked all our lives, and if we had to move, don't know where that would be.
And in regards to that too, looking at all the other campgrounds around here, campgrounds being a weak term, I guess. Anybody living long term, this is the best place in Port. You can go up the highway, and I could name different campgrounds and everything, and you got nothing but drugs and everything. You got nothing here like that.
No.
This is a beautiful campground. We love it a lot, and it's well maintained. I really don't see the problem. I understand the neighbor with the visual part, but you know, that's something that could be addressed or whatever, like Heather was saying, and let's work with it, right?
The manager that is currently looking after this place, Trevor, he's done a phenomenal job of making sure people are complying with rules and regulations that are imposed on being here. I just think it would be a shame to have to get rid of it, in all honesty, because there, as you know, there's very limited places to be able to rent and afford to rent. And this is one of those places that is a respectable place to live.
And just to talk to the neighbor, we are on that new part of the campground and everything. And other than the visual part, I think it's very quiet here.
Yeah.
And there is only a couple of trailers here now. So.
Sandy, could we get your husband's name? Sorry, it's not on the screen.
Yeah.
My name's Rob. Sorry,
Rob Brown.
Oh, thanks, Rob. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Does anybody else have any final comments? I call for the first time for any further comments on the temporary use permit application. I call for the second time for any further comments on the temporary use permit application. I call for the third time for any further comments on the temporary use permit application. Meeting no further comments, I declare this meeting is terminated. No more discussion.
Thanks. It was nice talking to everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.